Today we're going to do some practice with the thinking mind. It's very hard to practice without the thinking mind, but we'll be dealing with the thinking mind today. So we all get the experience of getting caught in our thinking. Perhaps being caught in a train of thought for minutes, maybe longer at a time. Sometimes that's an experience we choose because perhaps we're planning or thinking something through. But other times perhaps it's not something we choose. So this very simple practice of awareness, bringing awareness to our thinking, is all that's required for us to suddenly notice that we have distance between our thoughts. The moment that we are aware of a thought and that we're not in the thought is that moment too when we now have some perspective. We see the thoughts for what they are, and we can choose to follow them or not. So as we just stay here and we're keeping this attention on our breathing, this is our just base. This is home for us here. This is our resting place. The easy, natural breathing of the body. This rhythm that's with us all through our lives. And in those moments, if a thought does appear, which it no doubt will, just noticing that it is possible to see and notice thoughts rather than be in the thoughts. And in this practice, I'd like you to not really notice particularly the details of any thoughts that arise. I'd like you to use a little noting exercise, a little labeling of each thought that comes up. Simply describing what kind of thought it is, what context. Is it a problem-solving kind of thought, trying to work something out? Maybe head off some worry. Is it a kind of fantasizing? Is it a daydreaming? It's just enough when a thought arises to simply notice its context, the type. Worry, fantasy, daydream. You notice and then you leave it be. Leave it where it is. And come and find that breathing, which is always here, which is waiting for you. You fall back into the breath. maybe moments when you found that you were lost in a thought and then you've noticed it. See for yourself the difference, how it feels to be just lost or caught up in a train of thought, a daydream, or a worry. And then that moment when you realize you're thinking, but the thought is still there, notice the difference. Feel the difference. Which one do you feel you have perspective? A sense of choice. You're just labeling thoughts as they arise and if they arise, and then you just come back to your breathing and fall into your breathing. Rest on your breathing. And when you're used to just labeling the types of thought that comes up, fantasy, drifting, worry, or planning, or problem solving, you can also go another step and also then notice as well, is this thought about this moment? Something that's happening now, here, in the present? Or is it about something that's happened in the past? Or is it about something that hasn't happened? It's about the future. Notice for yourself. Notice the pattern of thinking. Simply observing and labeling the thoughts as they arise. Worry, past. Problem solving, future. And thoughts, not good or bad, no need to label them this way, they're just thoughts that arise. Noticing their context, from past, present or future. And just as with the physical asanas of yoga, we build flexibility and physical strength on the outside in the body. We might consider these internal asanas of yoga, working on the inside, observing the flow of thoughts and feelings, and building flexibility in our ability to respond to them. Building mental and emotional strength by not being pulled left and right and up and down by every thought and feeling that arises, but to remind ourselves that we can be observers of the experience. Now let's just drop back to the breathing again. If you're not already here, just resting. Just falling into the feeling of breathing. That soft, calming rhythm. And it's here, so if you're comfortable sitting, you can stay sitting here the last 10 minutes, or come and lay down. This practice of noticing contexts and perhaps making mental notes of our experience. It engages our awareness. It engages our alertness and participation in our experience, but in a way that also gives us some perspective and some space. It frees us up from habitual reactions and ways of thinking. So as you sit or lay, you might use this to adjust the simple sensations of the body. Now, often day to day when we bring our attention to the body, it's probably because either there's something very pleasurable there, or maybe there's something difficult there. An injury, a tightness, a pain. What I'd like us to do is to free ourselves from those limiting labels, and instead to begin to just work our way through the body from the top of the head downwards. But we're using a different set of labels or contexts. So maybe starting at the head. We won't be using any words that might impose an idea like pain or pleasure. We're describing the actual sensations. So maybe starting in the head, if we notice that there's tingling, we might just note tingling. If we move down into the forehead and the muscles of the face, if we noticed warm or cool or throbbing, we might use those words. We're describing the actual physical details. Let's move down maybe through the neck. Just sticking to words like soft or tight. Tingling. Warm. Cool. Moving down into your shoulders and just noticing the labels you might use here. Heavy, light, tight, loose. Stiff, relaxed. And following this down through your arms, moving through the muscles of your arms, down through the joints. Just noticing anything obvious. And we're just not using words that give meaning, like good or bad, pain or pleasure. We're noticing actual physical details. Soft, tight, tingly, warm, cold. When you've moved through your arms, moving down through your torso. Chest, is it tight or loose? As you move down, are there muscle groups perhaps that are feeling tight or stiff or relaxed? feeling that is soft, or might be a feeling that is sharp. Notice we are just describing the physical details, not an interpretation of them. Discovering your hips, your buttocks, your pelvis. Down into the muscles of the thighs. Heavy, tight, warm. Through knee joints. Here, particularly with your knees. Just simply using words that describe just the actual physical qualities. Maybe there's something here that's sharp. Or maybe now, after the practice, it's different, warm, fuzzy. Down through the legs, all the way down through shins, calves, down to ankles and feet. As we move through the body in this way, we're being more accurate in our description of what's happening. And we're also freeing ourselves from just a habitual reaction or labeling of things that can often limit the way we might deal with or respond to something. So just freeing yourself. You're seeing the body as it is. A field of different physical qualities. Imposing no meaning, no good or bad, just becoming clearer, more open. And then just feeling the whole body. Its whole body alive in the world. Feeling your very simple whole physical presence, this whole mass of details, the warmth, the coolness, the tightness, the softness, the relaxed, the sharp, the blunt, the smooth, the tingling. Even as you eventually come to sit, you just keep some contact with that.